Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today, I wanted to get on and talk about this topic because a lot of my clients are around the same age as me, and this comes up quite a bit, and I see it in Facebook groups and whatnot as well. And the reality is that in today's world, with the way that social media is set up, is that unless they're not using social media, they're looking at younger women online. And some of those younger women are going to be wearing very little clothing, and they're basically just thirst trapping, right? So, you know, if they're online, like my husband's online, and he uses his work phone. So even if he wanted to do some things, he's not able to because, you know, it's a work phone. However, you know, just scrolling through TikTok, even though he's listening to, you know, videos on a variety of different topics, like from history to science to, like coaching and all kinds of cool stuff. But there will be, you know, videos that come up in his feed, and they're thirst traps, right? And we'll even talk about it, because he'll be like, holy God, because he'll be showing me a video, and then he's trying to show me a video by the same person, and he's trying to figure out how to get to that, and this thing will pop up, and look, they're everywhere. And even on my Facebook feed and in my TikTok and stuff like that, they're popping up for me. So it's not an algorithm thing until it is, right? Until they are seeking it out, and then the algorithm starts to feed that. But the algorithm's always going to throw those cookies out there and just hope that someone, you know, takes a nibble, right? Because then once they do, then that feeds the algorithm. So just because it's popping up for them doesn't necessarily mean that they've been feeding the algorithm. If they have, then that's a whole other different conversation, right? So one conversation is around, it's natural. Yes, we've gone from the age of our age, the time of when we would go out and maybe your spouse or partner or date would look at another person, and it was in real life, happening in real time, and that would be upsetting. But now it's like, it's everywhere all the time, on every device. It's just nonstop, right? So it's a completely different dynamic, and it's bringing up a lot of feelings of insecurity and, you know, a lack of self-confidence and whatnot in the women who are with these partners who are engaging with these kinds of things online, intentionally or not, right? What it's kind of making a lot of women feel is inadequate, right? And that's often fed by, you know, the larger message from society that after a certain point, after a certain age, you know, women are no longer considered sexy and attractive, right? So we've been hearing that message for a really long time, and now there's just this proliferation of younger, prettier, cuter, sexier women online in ways that, you know, were never available, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago, right? So, or at least not to this degree. So there's the feelings that it brings up within us, those insecurities, and then there's the partner who's actually feeding those algorithms by engaging in them intentionally, and to the point where it's becoming an issue in the relationship. I mean, those are addressed in two different ways, right? So one is, you know, we've got maybe an addiction here that we need to deal with, and that person needs to deal with. We've got the person who's in relationship with the addict, whose feelings are being triggered by their addict's behavior or their partner's addictive behaviors, and so there's all of that has to be dealt with, right? So this isn't just a matter of, oh, I feel unattractive because my partner's looking at stuff online. Because it goes deeper than that usually. If someone's talking about it and bringing it up, either in conversation or in sessions, coaching sessions with me, it's an issue, right? Clearly. So we need to talk about that a little bit more. And we need to talk about it in general, like in society, right? Because there's this response when women do say that they feel uncomfortable. There's the piling on that will happen by other people. They'll just be like, oh, well, you're just jealous, or so I'm trying to think of other things that come up, and my mind just kind of went blank there. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you can think of different reactions that people would have if you, in your 50s, express the fact that, I'm really concerned about the fact that my partner is constantly bombarded with these images and videos and whatnot, and like chat, stuff coming up and things like that, where it's just a constant bombardment. We're made to feel like there's something wrong with us for having an issue with that, or being concerned about it, or having some worries around it, right? Like, well, so even if you're with someone who is not being negatively impacted by this, because I don't feel like my husband's negatively impacted by this, because I'm sure he doesn't mind the occasional, look at a beautiful body, right? So he's not being hurt by it, and our relationship's not being affected by it, and I don't feel less than or inadequate because he's seeing these images, any more than if he was walking through an art museum and seeing paintings or statues of nude beautiful women. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't bother me. What would bother me is if he was actively engaging with these women, if he was intentionally, seeking out this kind of media and whatnot, and this interaction. That would probably really affect my self-esteem. But just in general, it doesn't, any more than if we're walking down the street and a beautiful woman walks by. And if he were to look, and I don't know, Donnie's either very discreet about looking, or we're both looking, and then we just kind of look at each other and like, wow, she's beautiful, or like, and we'll say that about guys too. Like, it's not like we're just looking at women and objectively saying that. Like, if we see someone who's a good-looking person, we might turn to each other and be like, oh, they're really great looking, or whatever, like, oh, check them out, like, wow, like, because there's nothing wrong with admiring beauty. It's just how you do it, and whether you're doing it in a way that is respectful, and whether your partner's okay with it. So if Donnie knew that I wouldn't be okay with that kind of reaction or whatever, then he would stop doing it. And it's not like he ever does it in a way that I feel is uncomfortable. It's not like he's looking women up and down. But, if you're around beautiful people, sometimes you can't help but notice they're beautiful, right? And you might think to yourself, like, oh my gosh, they are beautiful. But it's not like in a sexualized way, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so, like, it doesn't have to be that kind of thing. And it's not. Like, I don't feel that with Donnie, and I don't feel like he makes other women feel uncomfortable with the way that he looks at them, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. So if you are with someone who does that, though, and they know that it bothers you, and they do it in a way that you can see them doing it, and then even when you talk about it, they're like brushing you off or telling you that you're overreacting or whatever, that's not cool. Like, if I said to Donnie, like, I don't like when you point out that that person is beautiful, or even whether they're male or female. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel ugly or whatever. And then he wouldn't do that, right? Like, he just would be like, oh, I had no idea. But it's something that we both do. I think just because we're just like regular people, and sometimes we're around beautiful people, and we're just kind of like, wow, right? Like, like if you were around a movie star or something, like someone who's just objectively beautiful to the masses, like, yeah, like sometimes you notice that. So there's a difference, right? And there's a difference between seeing someone online and objectively thinking, oh, wow, they're attractive or they're beautiful or whatever, and then scrolling on past. Like, that's different than, oh, wow, they're really beautiful. I'm going to reach out to them and chat with them, or I'm going to follow them and I'm going to watch all their old videos and things like that. Like, that's, to me, that's crossing some boundaries. And if it's not a boundary for you in your relationship and you're okay with them doing that, then that's fine too. I'm not suggesting that this is boundaries for everyone. I'm just suggesting that for me, and from what I'm hearing from other women, both in sessions with clients and online, that it is bothersome for some women, and it really affects their self-esteem. And it's not enough to tell them that they should just do more self-love and love themselves more when their partner is actively doing something to hurt them, because that's just gaslighting, right? Like, that's just telling you that your feelings aren't valid and you should just go and do something about it if it's like it's your issue. And that's just not true, right? Because if it's something that bothers you and it's something you've discussed with your partner and you've set some boundaries around certain activities and behaviors, then if they're not willing to honor those boundaries, then that's them behaving badly. That's not on you to go. And there's a lot of times when I do have people in front of me and we're having a session, and they're talking about their self-esteem and their self-worth and their feelings around themselves and loving themselves, and I can support that and be there for them as they work through that, without saying this is the kind of work that you should do so that you don't feel bad when your husband disrespects you in this way. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the kind of work we're doing. We're not trying to empower you and make you feel more beautiful and in love with yourself just so that you can put up with terrible behavior from your partner. That's not what it's all about. So it's about boundary setting and then loving yourself so much that you stick to your boundaries, whatever they are. And if you have a boundary around them engaging in certain types of behaviors, and interactions with other people online, and you set that boundary in your relationship, if your partner's not willing to stick to that, then that's a them issue. If you still feel like, even without your partner's, either your perception or your partner's telling you that they're no longer attracted to you. Like, if that was a separate thing, we deal with that separately. If all your life you have felt unattractive and that you weren't good enough, then that's another topic. That's a whole other session. You know what I mean? Like, there's different things. Like, so if your partner's is doing things that make you feel unattractive, but generally you kind of grew up with this sense of, I feel attractive, I feel, like that other people find me attractive, and then if your partner's actively doing things that tear down that self-confidence you have, then that's a real issue, and it's on them to fix that, right? And then it's on you to sort of repair and get back to that knowing that you have of yourself. But if you've always felt like you weren't enough, then that's something else that we could talk about. So either way, if you feel this way, regardless of your age, regardless of your situation, if you are just feeling really unattractive, you're feeling lack of self-confidence, you're not feeling sexy, you're not feeling embodied and connected to your sense of self, then that's something that we can talk about. We can do it in a free consultation call, and then we could just dive in and get to the root of that and get you feeling like you deserve the kind of love that you deserve. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Namaste.